the shadowy forests of North America, where the winds whisper ancient secrets and the trees stand like silent sentinels, there lurks a creature born of primal fears and ancient taboos. This creature, known to the Algonquian-speaking tribes as the Wendigo, is a being of unspeakable horror, a spirit of insatiable hunger, cannibalistic urges, and icy despair. The Wendigo is not merely a monster, but a manifestation of the darkest depths of human nature, a symbol of the consequences of greed, isolation, and the unquenchable desire for more. The Wendigo's legend is deeply rooted in the traditions of the Algonquian tribes, such as the Ojibwe, Cree, and Algonquin. These cultures tell stories of a malevolent spirit that can possess humans, turning them into ghastly creatures driven by an unending hunger for human flesh. According to legend, the Wendigo was once a human, but through the acts of greed, starvation, or the consumption of human flesh in times of famine, they transformed into this terrifying entity. The spirit of the Wendigo embodies the ultimate taboo, cannibalism, and serves as a grim reminder of what happens when one succumbs to the basest of instincts. Descriptions of the Wendigo's physical form are as horrifying as its origins. It is often depicted as a gaunt, skeletal figure with ash-gray skin stretched tight over its bones, its eyes sunken into its skull, glowing with an unnatural hunger. Its lips are often torn and bloody, a sign of its cannibalistic nature. In some stories, the Wendigo is said to grow in proportion to the amount of flesh it consumes, becoming impossibly tall and emaciated, its hunger growing ever more insatiable as it devours more victims. Its breath is cold as the winter wind, and it brings with it the stench of death and decay. The legend of the Wendigo has transcended its Native American origins, becoming a staple in horror literature, film, and popular culture. It has been featured in countless stories, from Algernon Blackwood's classic horror tale, The Wendigo, to Stephen King's novel Pet Sematary, where the creature's influence is felt as a malevolent force lurking in the woods. In modern interpretations, the Wendigo often symbolizes more than just a cannibalistic monster. It represents the dangers of unchecked greed, the destruction of the environment, and the consequences of losing one's humanity. The Wendigo is a reminder that beneath the veneer of civilization, there is a darkness that can consume us if we are not careful. The terror of the Wendigo is not only physical but psychological. The Wendigo's presence brings with it a sense of dread and despair, feeding on the darkest corners of the human mind. It is a creature that represents the horrors of isolation, the madness that can take hold when one is cut off from society, and the unrelenting fear of becoming something inhuman. The Wendigo is a mirror to our own fears and weaknesses, a reflection of the monstrous potential that lies within us all. In some tales, those who encounter the Wendigo are driven to madness, haunted by its presence long after it has passed. They hear its voice in the wind, calling them to join it in its eternal hunger. The Wendigo is a being that consumes not just flesh but also the spirit, leaving its victims hollow, soulless, and forever cursed. Don't you think it's time we get into one of the Wendigo stories? Okay, let's go. The Curse of the Wendigo. In the dense forests of northern Canada, there lies a small, isolated village named Timber Hollow. The village was known for its unrelenting winters, where snow blanketed the land and icy winds howled through the trees. But the villagers did not fear the cold. They feared something far worse, a creature whispered about in hushed tones, a being known only as the Wendigo. The legend of the Wendigo was ancient, passed down through generations. It was said to be a monstrous spirit with an insatiable hunger for human flesh. The Wendigo was born from the darkest corners of human greed and desperation. Once a man, it was cursed to roam the forests, forever starving, forever searching for its next victim. Elias, curious and brave, decided to investigate the disappearances. He ventured deep into the forest, following the tracks of something large and inhuman. As he delved deeper, the trees seemed to close in around him, the air growing colder, heavier. It was then that he saw it. A towering figure, gaunt and skeletal, with sunken eyes that burned with an unnatural hunger. Its body was twisted and emaciated, its skin stretched tight over its bones. The Wendigo. Elias tried to flee, but the Wendigo was swift, its bony limbs moving with horrifying speed. It caught him, its claws digging into his flesh, and as Elias stared into the creature's hollow eyes, he felt his own humanity slipping away. The curse of the Wendigo was not merely to consume flesh, but to turn its victims into one of its own. When Elias did not return, the villagers knew what had happened. They locked their doors, boarded their windows, and prayed that the Wendigo would spare them. But deep in the heart of the forest, Elias was no longer a man. He was now a creature of the night, cursed to wander the woods, forever hungry, forever alone, just like the Wendigo before him. And so the legend continues, a warning to all who venture too deep into the forest. Beware the Wendigo, for once it finds you, there is no escape from its curse. The Wendigo story may be over, but the fear of them still lingers. Hope you stay safe from the Wendigos. If you want the next video to be inspired by your idea, just drop a comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.